Good evening, everybody. My name is Maciej Łukiański. I work in DrupalCamp. So today I'm going to tell you something about using a multi-site installation and using Aegir to help you manage that multi-site installation. So first question maybe to you would be, how many Drupal sites do you host? How many? Who hosts just one site? Okay. Who hosts 5? Who hosts more than 5? Who hosts more than 20? So who hosts more than 50? Who hosts 100? So see, when you have many sites, this problem comes in where you have to manage every single one separately if you do Drupal the standard way. So for example, a new update comes out and you have to go into each website and update it, drush up or download via Git new code or some other method. Then you go to the next site and do the same thing, and onto the next site and so on. So if you're trying to update each single module whenever a new release comes out, that's loads of work, right? For example, especially if there's something with your module and you, for example, update another module or Drupal or something, and a different module is not working with it anymore, so you have to find a patch and patch the module, and then you have to patch the same module on every single website wherever you host it. Loads of work. I mean, really. The more sites you have, the more you're like, yeah, I'm gonna update this one later. This one's more important, and sometimes you end up with installations 7 releases old, like 2 security releases already and everything, like Drupal 7 on these websites, because I don't really maintain them because they're smaller and it's such a pain to update. So multi-site helps you with this scenario in many ways. I'm going to show you how. But first, a small introduction to something else. When you look at a Drupal installation, right? What do you have? Usually, that's one thing I meet quite often, is that people treat Drupal website as like this whole thing, right? It's my Drupal, this Drupal, and then there's this other Drupal site, and then this other Drupal site. Well, let's look at it in a bit differently, right? This is your code base, and it's practically identical on each Drupal installation, right? So if you have, say, Drupal 22 now, it's 722 installed, the code is the same on every single website. Unless you patched something, it's the same on each single website. Same with modules. If you download modules from Drupal.org, they're identical on one installation, onto the next, onto the third, onto the fourth, right? It's the same, the code base, right? So what's different? I mean, each single website is different, so what's different? The files are different, right? So you have these pictures here, those pictures there, some other PDF files or whatnot. It's different on each single website, right? And the database, the content, the settings, everything within there, which theme is enabled, which modules are enabled, everything there, that's different. So you have this single element here, which is different in each website. But the modules, they're the same. They're from Drupal.org. If you write a module, you probably use it then on one site and on the next and on the next. They're the same. So instead of hosting each single code base separately, if it's the same, why not just stick all the websites onto one code base? Simple, you just have one code base, it's easy. Multi-site works just like that. And how it works? Drupal is designed this way that when a page request comes in, it looks at the domain and it tries to find settings to connect, right? It tries to connect to the database. It tries to find your settings. And then when it finds settings, it knows which files to use, which database to use. And well, all the other modules are the same anyway. In the settings PHP file, there is a description on what is the order of where settings PHP is searched for. And I simplified it here a little bit. In settings PHP, you can see how to organize it if you have your installation on different ports, on multi-domain, on very different settings. So usually when a request comes in, it will check if you have an exact domain match. If you have a folder and you have settings PHP there, that's what it's going to use. If it doesn't find a folder like that, it's just going to cut off from the end. So it's going to cut off the first section of your domain and see if settings is there. If not, the next. And if nothing's left, it goes to default and looks for settings PHP there. So usually, I bet 90% of sites, 95% of sites have settings in default. So you have one site on one installation. And this is like the last case scenario. Drupal looks there last. So if you set up many sites like this in sites folder, and you get requests for example 1, example 2, example 3, Drupal's gonna take a different. Yeah, Ubuntu. I'm open source all the way. So. Anyway, so Drupal is going to look for settings in each single folder, and it's just going to open this particular data. It's going to use this particular database, settings from the database and everything, and it's just going to ignore all the others. So essentially, you can have many websites on the same database, right? Now, to actually show you how it works, I'm going to show you a multi-site installation that hosts 60 websites, right? And well, actually, for the one I'm going to show you is a perfect example where multi-site works really well, but it would work just as the same for a more generic situation, right? Does anybody know of these websites? Right? You have these training techniques. DrupalCamp takes care of this network. And now we have, what, 8 websites times the languages here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 56 websites. Well, I exaggerated a little bit. But we have just one code base. It looks like this, right? If you go to sites, nah. That did not just happen. Ah, there it is. Right, so we keep it like this, right? Loads of sites in one installation. Right. So, modules are the same. We actually, because these sites are very alike, like each single one, I'm just going to open another one to show you how they differ. Maybe a Russian one. No. Oh, that's a shame. I'm going to have to sort this out because this is extremely important that it works. Okay, it works. All right, that's a different one. It's very much like the previous one, right? So it just has some other colors and stuff. So the way we set it up is so that all the websites use the same theme, right? And so this is how it works. We based it on Zen, right? Then you have the base theme here, and base theme has all the templates, all the settings, everything there. And now a particular website, which it differs only in colors or something from the other website, has just, well, maybe I'm just gonna, has CSS for colors. Just gonna open this one, right? Only colors and images, what? 90 lines, that's all, right? If you open theme specific, we have this here. And this is if there's something really specific on the theme, but usually on different themes, it looks like this, right? It shouldn't have anything really here. Like whenever we stick something here, I consider this a mistake, because same with templates PHP, right? This should remain empty. Everything's in Vroohu base. Like this is the one base theme. Every other just kind of overrides bits and pieces. And by this, we have a very easy to maintain network. For example, recently, we wanted to add these share buttons here, right? So what we did, we just stuck them into a template on the base theme here. Where is it? This one. And we put it in one template, in one place, and all of the 60 pages, all of the 60 websites, right? That's just like this code. And all 60 websites got it immediately. We didn't have to go into each single template, add the lines, go on to the next one. 60. I mean, how much work would that be if this wasn't a multi-site and all of those didn't use the same theme? That would be just loads of work. Okay, so same base theme, final themes are really small. All of the settings, that's one of the other things. Most of the settings on these websites are very much alike. So if we export them to features, right? Anybody uses features? So if you export them to features and you install another site and you enable these features, you have the same settings. You don't have to. So for example, if you install another site, install features, and you have all the settings, blocks, blah, blah, views, everything, it's all the same. I'm going to show you in a moment how we install one. And these are the benefits. It's super fast installation when we have it set up like this, because we just point a new domain, we create a new domain folder, connect settings to the database, and bam, there it is. All the modules are there. We don't have to download modules, set everything up. Everything's working out of the box immediately for a new website. So, for example, we were launching a whole new language a month ago, and you know, installing all these sites took maybe half an hour or so. 7 websites in an hour. That's just really quick. So whenever we want to introduce a patch or a module or something or anything into the websites, we just do it once, just like with the share buttons. We just go in there, do it once. It's there for all the websites. You don't have to go to each single one and do it all over again. Migrations between servers are also easier because you just have one code base, you just move one and just, that's easy, right? No, 60 websites, imagine moving 60 websites, one after another, from one server to another. A killer, really. Updating websites is much easier because you just update one code. So for example, you move from Drupal 21 to 22, you just do it like once. There's just one Drupal there. You don't have to do it 60 times. It's extremely efficient. You need less memory for APC, because if you had 60 installations, right, on a server or anywhere, APC would actually cache each single one separately. Now it just caches the one, right? It's 60 times less memory used. But how do you upgrade? That's a question. How would you upgrade a multi-installation, right? Do you just download the new code base and go to update PHP on each website? Because you have to run update PHP on each single website, right? Because update PHP changes stuff in your database, and each single site has a separate database. So you need to go into each single site and run update PHP. Well, 60 websites, that's a lot of work, right? And maybe you can do drush update database for each website. Go into each single folder, drush update, yes, next website. That may be quicker. right? Maybe quicker in a script. Or you write a script which actually goes into each website and bam, update PHP on 1, 2, 3, 4, 60, and you just sit and watch. That's maybe a good approach, but what if the third update fails, right? So you updated 7 websites on your multi-site installation, and the 8th one failed, and you're like, right, I have this new code, it works with these new 7 websites. All the others, for example, don't work at the moment because they need to be updated because the code looks for database tables which don't exist yet. And you have to do this update because, well, they're waiting there. You can't revert because 7 are already updated, right? You'd have to restore each single one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. It's a lot of work, restore 7 databases. So multi-site is brilliant and it helps a lot. Like if you have 20 websites on Drupal 7, you stick them all on one code base, it saves you a lot of work, except for the update, right? When the update comes in, you're like, oh shit, I'm so scared now, because if something goes wrong in the process, it might take ages, or you'd have to have some weird strategy to actually be able to come out of a problem. Because if you have just one Drupal installation, you just run update, of course you tested everything first, sure. But you run update, it goes well, okay. If it doesn't work, you just quickly, revert, check out the previous tag from Git or whatever, and you backed up your database before because you're smart, and bam, you're right where you were before you were updating. But not with the multi-site, because you can't check out the previous tag because some sites are already using the new code. So that's one thing, maybe problematic. And Aegir solves this problem beautifully. Aegir works in this platform approach. Who uses Aegir, by the way? Anybody use Aegir? Brilliant. Aegir solves this problem in a beautiful approach where it says, well, the code base, which is identical, we call it a platform, and there's the sites within the platform, right? So Aegir uses this platform approach. Let's see how it works in practice, right? So I have here, I to show you how quickly it works, I used Vagrant. There's a presentation on Vagrant, I think tomorrow. Do watch it. It's extremely easy to use. Like, you set up a virtual environment with Vagrant, and you can easily just create Aegir there and test how Aegir works in your local environment without having a huge server or anything. You can test it at home. I did it. I set this up. Took me maybe half an hour to set a whole Aegir installation within a virtual box. Really, really Vagrant, brilliant solution. And I imported all these websites here, right? So this is how it works. Aegir uses platforms. So I put 2 platforms here. A D15 platform, that's a Drupal 15, and a Drupal 21 platform, right? Shows you the release, everything. And this is the code base. So basically what it is I'm just going to show you on the command line, right? Platforms. If you just go into the platform, right? It's just Drupal there. That's like the code base. Drupal is in there. And what Aegir does, you put your Drupal installation onto the server and tell Aegir, okay, my platform is there. You do it by just creating a node. You create content, you create a platform, and you just put the path to the platform here onto the server, and Aegir goes in there and sees, okay, this is Drupal, this and this. It looks through all the modules, themes, and everything, and it builds like metadata on this platform. It holds it on this node, and has all the information on what's on the platform and what websites are hosted on this platform, right? So you can see packages here, and it has all the information on all the modules right here, and what versions they're in, and everything about them. And now, when you create a website, we might just create one actually. when you create a website, you create content, you create a site, and let's do it test.com, right? We're gonna use one of these, basic maybe, one of these install profiles for the training sites and save, right? And what Aegir is gonna do is it's gonna create, right? Because let's see how it works here. Oh, one hand. So we have all these websites in here, right? Just like I showed you there through the UI. So we have all the websites there. So what's going to happen now, it actually already created the test.com folder. It's stuck. Right, it created settings.php, files, private modules, all the libraries, all the folders here, created the database, created virtual host, which when a request comes in for this domain, virtual host is going to direct, Apache virtual host is going to direct this request onto the folder with this platform. And the website is now ready to actually, what you have to do is you have to verify it. But the website is already there, it's installed. Whatever install tasks, install profiles, whatever was supposed to happen, it's already done. So if you do this manually, what you have to do is have to download Drupal onto your server, right? You have to set up the database. You have to go copy default settings PHP to settings PHP. Change mode to actually be so that Drupal is able to write to settings PHP. Go to your Apache config, create a virtual host, direct it to the folder where Drupal is installed, and all these things you have to do manually. You have to have root access to your server, or whatever access to your server or PHP my admin. On Aegir, you just click one button. On Aegir, you just click. Okay. So usually when you do this manually, there's loads of work, right? Setting up a database, connecting PHP to the database, running install profiles through the UI, everything. Aegir does this for you immediately. Like it takes, the site is now verified and it's available. It can be seen now. So if I just went in, chose a theme, it would have all the settings. It has the book navigation, the navigation on the right that all the websites have, right? It has Facebook here. It has everything that we have on this platform for all these websites is already installed. It took me, 10 seconds? Very quick. And it's brilliant. Now, so that's how it works. You have a node for each platform and you have a node for each website. What next? So that's how now, I'm going to show you an upgrade. So I was talking about the difficulty with upgrades. Now, in Aegir, you do it in a different way. You don't exchange the code base on this one particular installation. You put another one next to it and just move this folder with all your database credentials and everything. You move it onto the new platform and run update there. And Aegir does it all for you, so you just do like a migration. I'm going to do that on this one side. I'm going to just choose run, right? I have these two platforms show you, yeah, Fitness 15 and 21. I can compare these platforms and see what differences in all the modules are, which modules are going to get updated, which are not going to get updated, what the differences are. And if there was a module missing on 21, Aegir would not allow me to do this migration because it would say, well, you're missing this module here, or well, this module here on the platform you want to migrate to is in a version which is older, so you can't, you cannot downgrade in Drupal. So it would not let me. But now if I want to migrate, if I want to upgrade, it shows me, right? 158 update hooks, 0 warnings, 0 errors. If you had warnings and errors, you probably would go and check what's happening there. This way you just migrate. And that's a Drupal update I just did. Now it has to wait for a cron run to actually launch this task, and it's gonna, what it does, I actually have it written here. It will put the sign to offline, it will back it up. That's very important. You don't have to back up before each single update because Aegir does it for you. It then tarbles your whole domain folder, it drops the database into it, it tars it, it moves it onto the new platform, unpacks it there, it pulls the database in there into a new database, runs all the updates, clears all caches, and it runs this check if everything went correctly, like if you didn't get any errors in the process, if all update hooks fired correctly, if everything worked, only then it will bring it up and it will move vhost onto your new platform. So the old site is only then deleted, and then it deletes the old site. So, and if something fails in the process, it's just gonna stop, throw away the whole upgrade, and the website that you were trying to update is not gonna be touched. So it's so this is migrated now. So it's a very safe process. It's actually, so if something, so you have these benefits, right? You just migrate one site at a time. So this website is already on the platform D21, right? If we go here, this is gonna be, now we have this error because we have some modules that use an external database, and this is just complying here that this is not set up. But. So now this is Drupal 21, right? Very quick. You don't really have to do much to update a site. And you have if you have 60, you can just pop one and the next and the next and the next. It goes really quickly. And if one fails, well, it still works. Like for all the users, it's gonna work. You're gonna see that it failed. You can go and see what's wrong, maybe fix it, or maybe upgrade all the rest and just deal with this one afterwards, or maybe tomorrow. And it's still gonna work. You're not gonna be in this situation where you're like, I'm on production, half of my sites are not updated and they don't work, what do I do? You don't have it. It's very clear, it's very, very easy. So that's what Aegir does. It installs your sites quickly, it updates them, it backs them up. Now there's a project, Hosting Backup Queue, where you can tell each website how often should Aegir back it up. And Aegir will, during crons, it will just drop the database, dump the database into the folder, tarball it all, and put it into a separate folder, and you're gonna have an update like that. The whole website is gonna be backed up, and it can do it like daily, weekly, monthly. Really cool. You can also do these backups manually. You just type some description and back up, and it's gonna back the site up if you need it. Works really well, works really nice. It really speeds things up, as you can see. Yeah, you can clone websites. So I showed you a migrate task. You can do a migrate task where you change site's name, where you can do a clone task, which is very identical, but you don't move the site between platforms. You just make a copy, and the previous one remains where it was. You have a copy on a different domain. So if you want to try something out on your website before doing this on production, it's very easy to set up this testing environment because you just clone it, and you have a complete copy with copied files, copied database, everything is copied. I'm not going to show this to you, not to waste too much time, but it works really nice as well. So the benefits. It's really safe because it backs up your sites. It does it the Drupal way. It migrates one site after another in the multi-site. It's also cost effective because, well, developers are really expensive these days, and this migration, this updating, can be done by anybody. I mean, you can show anybody, just click the migrate button and it's just gonna migrate, and when it finishes, to do the next one. How long does it take? I mean, how you don't have to have a skilled professional. You don't have to have root access to servers to do upgrades. So when a developer prepares upgrade on the development and he's confident that the upgrade works, you can put anybody at the PC and just tell him, well, we have these 200 sites. Can you just do an upgrade? And you don't have to have a developer who charges, you know, extreme amounts of money per hour to do it. You can take someone who is cheaper. Also, you don't need admin access to servers. That's also brilliant for security reasons. You don't have to go to the server via FTP or SSH, or you don't have to have root access to create new database or anything. This is all done from a nice, easy to use UI, and it's just very friendly and quick. There's also some security enhancements where settings PHP is changed and the credentials to the database are not actually kept in the settings PHP file, but are kept outside of the Drupal installation. And also Aegir looks after your file permissions. So in Drupal, this is sometimes difficult to manage. Aegir does it for you and ensures that all of your files have proper permissions. But if you're not still not convinced, how about if we do a mass update? For example, if we updated 60 sites with one script, 4 lines of script, right? Because that's one thing. Aegir is based on Drush, and it uses Drush extensively. It has some more commands that are shipped with it, and whatever. And it basically most of the tasks are done via Drush. So if you use Drush, it's very easy to use Aegir and script for Aegir as well. So this is four lines of code which enable you to update a site via code. I'm going to give it a try. Right, I have some scripts written here. One of them is migrate. And so what this script does is basically the same script that was there. I feed it with a list of websites from a text file. It's just a list of domain names, one after another, one per line. And for each, I just execute. This command. And fingers crossed. Okay, so the first one fired. It backed it up, right? As I said, it backs it up. It performs. Now, first 3 are not going to get any updates because I was testing if it works before I came here. So we would have to wait for like the 4th one or the 5th one to actually see the particular update happening. I'm going to show you how it looks in the front end. So we're moving right between these 2 platforms, D21. We moved from D15 to D21, right? And so 1 is already migrated, it's updated, it's here. Okay, so see, now we're migrating sites that I didn't test them, and they are actually being migrated and updated. So each one is being migrated from Drupal 15 to Drupal 21. Automatically, all update hooks are being executed on each website. It's backed up before. If something failed on a website, it would be reverted to the state before the backup. We don't have to do it manually at all. It goes on for like this for about 45 minutes and it's done. And you can just sip your coffee and watch 60 sites updated. Brilliant. Right, and you can see them, the websites are coming into the Drupal. It's actually Drupal 722. Yeah, they're being moved over one after another. One more. And it just migrates one after another with a script. So if you have 50, 20, 30 websites and you're updating them manually, how long does it take to update 30 sites manually? A day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days? Before I wrote the script, we did it once manually. We updated 60 sites via Aegir manually. It took about 5 hours. So doing this without multi-site installation, manually, each one by one, a week? I don't know, 45 minutes with a 4-line script. So that's the power of Aegir. And well, I recommend you start using this. Now, there are brilliant resources. Right, good practice as well for using Aegir. Version control, right? Use Git and use version control really. I mean, if you don't do this, it's going to be very difficult for you to understand what changes from platform to platform. You're not going to be sure if the new platform is correct, and you're going to get these errors in Aegir. It's not going to work. Test it. You can use Vagrant to set up your local installation of Aegir and script test. Don't do this on production. Like if you write a script for Aegir and you do something incorrectly, you can mess up settings there. But you can test your scripts, everything. You can test everything in Vagrant. It's super easy. Guys from Ergonologic created this Aegir app module. It's like a Drush extension, and if you have Vagrant installed, you just type Drush Aegir app, and it creates you a complete full installation of VirtualBox with Aegir installed in it, and it all works. Right, so I launched this Aegir installation. It took me really few minutes before this, when I was preparing this presentation. It's all working in Vagrant, and you can do everything in Vagrant. Like, so we have Varnish here as well, because these sites by default use Varnish, APC. You can use everything on Vagrant. It's really handy. Right, one thing, update via code. If anybody saw presentation by Grzegorz today, Grzegorz Bartman, he probably talked about it. You can do everything in Drupal using update hooks. So if you want to enable a module enables the hook, module disable, module Drupal uninstall. You can put new modules in, you can remove modules, you can change settings, use features. I didn't put that one here, but use features to actually manage that. By using this, you write your upgrade once. So if we have 60 websites, and for example, we wanted to change a view or something in all of these websites, we would, or enable a module, you'd have to go into each one, log in, go to modules page, find the module, click enable 60 times. God, you just write one hook, module enable, you have a module installed, then maybe some settings in the database as well. It's sometimes a pain in the beginning to start using updates in code to update your website, but once you get to use them, you really grasp, you get this very good control of what happens in your project. You can go to history of your updates and see what you did in each update. For example, if you have 60 websites and you're changing settings in each single one and you logged into each single one, I bet that after 4 hours of logging in, logging out, you'd make mistakes. You'd click something incorrectly. Instead of enabling cache, you'd disable cache by accident. You'd have to go to the bathroom, go eat, and everything come back. You'd forget one site. And then 2 years later, or half a year later, you'd realize, damn, we didn't enable this on this particular site. That's why it's so slow, or that's why it doesn't have these features. You'd be looking into your Google Analytics and why is this site different than all the others? Well, that's why it's different, because you just don't have the stuff there that you were supposed to have because you didn't turn it on. Right, and using hook update n, when you migrate, all websites, they get the same settings, everything's identical. very safe. You can back up every time when you want. It's easy with Aegir. If you go to community.aegirproject.org, there's loads of scripts there for manual backupping. So, for example, for backupping sites, you can put them in your cron, and they're just gonna update, backup your sites daily, weekly, or whatever, however you want. Now, this is more of a precaution. Aegir uses its own Aegir user on the server. So for example, here I'm logged in as Aegir user, and all the files are owned by Aegir and always act as Aegir. If you log in as root, change to Aegir before you do anything in the Aegir directory, because if you do something and Aegir cannot write files or read to files, that messes things up a lot. So that's one thing I would urge you to do. Yeah, sufficient resources. Now, this box Aegir app comes with 50 megs of RAM by default, and these upgrades, for example, don't work on 50 megs. I have here 4 gigs on this one, and they work now. So what you should try to do, you should have a little bit more resources than you really need. Because what happens is Drush works in a way that before it executes any task, for example, if you type something Drush clear cache, before it does it, it will actually check your server load, and if your server load is high, it will just abort and just print you a message, well, I didn't do anything because the server load's too high. And if you have these sites on Aegir, your cron is being run by cache, caches are cleared by cache, migrations are being done by cache, update hooks, this is all run by cache. If you don't have enough resources, Drush is not going to be executing them, and you're not even going to know that your cron is not running because Drush is aborting every single time it tries to launch cron. So you have to have sufficient resources to actually run Aegir. Large file deals are also a problem. So if you have your files directory and it's massive, I've seen a site where files directory had 0.5 terabyte of data, well, video files, loads of pictures, everything. The problem is that, as I told you, what Aegir does is it tars your files and everything, and it moves them over. Now, tarring a huge files folder will just take like an hour or maybe 2 hours, and this is going to slow down your servers. All the other sites are going to get impacted. So what I suggest doing, and that's what guys on Drupal.org also suggest doing, other people using Aegir, is to simply symlink this folder, and before you update, just symlink it to anything that is small. And after an upgrade, just symlink it back to the big folder with big files so that they don't get tarred, because, well, it just doesn't make sense to move these huge files. More help. Community Aegir project, Aegir app, Vagrant app. Okay. Questions? Right, so we already updated that many sites, right? They're just being updated right now, as you can see, one after another. Sorry? Can
you change back to your contact details page?
Oh, sure. There, that's me. No questions? Okay.
I just wanted to ask, on your production server, do you install Aegir manually or this Aegir app, or you use this Barracuda Octopus script?
Right, so Aegir app is an extension to set up Aegir on Vagrant only. This is just for your local development environment. you wouldn't use Vagrant on production. This is a development box, and Aegir app is just as well because of that, just a development tool where you can just give it a try. We just install Aegir as per Aegir installation guidelines on aegir.org project. So, for example, on Debian Linux, there's like it's in the repositories. So that's just
using
like
the
few commands.
Apache web server or something else? Which web server do you use?
We use Apache, yes. We, especially for these websites, they are static content, so they're cached by Varnish. We have APC, but that's not used that much anyway, because Varnish caches 90% of traffic, 95% of traffic, and we don't need like this is sufficient for these. All right.